Welcome to Shep Rambles, where I am Shep and I tend to ramble. About what? Anything and everything? Well, the RTX 3080, well, we know there's a lot of drama going on, but is it worth it? And can it run Crysis? Remastered. I don't have Crysis. Maybe I should get it. I don't know. Think I should get it and do some videos on it? I don't know. So can it run a Crysis Remastered? Oh my goodness, I'm going to choke and die here. That's how dramatic the RTX 3080 is. Can it run Crysis Remastered at 4K? Let's find out. What happens when you have a copy of Crysis Remastered and NVIDIA's new RTX 30 graphics card in your possession? Perhaps a big explosion. Maybe not. You see if the RTX 3080 can run it naturally. One of my hopes for the Crysis Remastered, according to the author here, was that it would be just as punishing on PCs today as it was when it was originally released in 2007. Now that the game has been redone with new lighting, updated assets, ray-traced reflections, 8K textures, and a bunch of other things that add a much more real and detailed look to the entire world. Yeah, the remastered version is still as much of a beast as it was 13 years ago. 8K textures? Really? Do you really need 8K textures? Can the human eye see 8K? I don't know. I would think that usually the larger the screen, the more the resolution matters, because you're blowing that up. So unless you have a big screen that's on the side of your house, I don't know if the 8K textures are really going to make much of a difference. If you're looking at it on a regular computer screen, it seems like overkill to me. But anyway, during a recent interview with PC Gamer, the game's project lead, Steven Hauberg, said that in 4K, there is no card out there which can run it, and can it run in Crysis mode at 30 frames per second. Tested that claim out with the same test bench they used for the RTX 3080, Intel i9, 10900K, Asus, blah, 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 blah. While running the game with every graphics setting cranked to the max, it still will not let you run it just above 30 frames per second. Well, if the 4K version isn't going to do it, well, then the 8K version isn't going to do it. That frame rate is by no means consistent. Like Metro Exodus and Control Ray Tracing 4K tests that he did, Crysis Remastered will also cycle between stutters, freezes, and smooth frame rates. But gosh, it looks so pretty. Can it run Crysis is a special graphics setting that pushes the player's PC to the max. Think of it like the Ultra setting on a lot of games. This setting cranks up the quality of objects, shadows, and other texture and lighting effects to push the limitations of your GPU. So that it dies in a year. How big wasn't exaggerating. Maybe the RTX 3090 will be able to run it, not based on an article that I've seen about the 3090, but we can get into that later. The RTX 3080 struggled. It performed as well as Control did at 4K on Ultra with ray tracing turned on, which wasn't exactly playable. Yeah, you know, I guess if you want to take screenshots or something, but other than that, why would you want to try to play it remastered? I mean, it's not going to be fun. If it's basically a slideshow, what fun is it? I don't know. If you want to get over 60 frames per second with all the graphical settings maxed out, dropping the resolution down to 1080p will do the trick. There you go. 1080p should be fine on a monitor. Yeah, it should be fine. Game runs at a smooth 70 frames per second at 1080p. Sounds good. But it struggles at 1440p too, netting just 48 frames per second. Still not bad. I mean, the human eye basically sees of roughly 30 frames per second. Yeah, 60 frames per second looks really smooth, but still 30 frames per second is quite acceptable. Given the 15 to 20 FPS lead the RTX 3080 has over the RTX 2080 Ti with ray tracing turned on, don't even bother trying to get this game to run on anything lower than an RTX 3080 if you max out the settings. So on medium settings, the RTX 3080 gets an average of 110 frames per second on 4K. And 60 frames per second on high at 4K, which is the minimum setting required to activate all the ray tracing effects. That would put the RTX 2080 Ti somewhere around 90 frames per second and 40 frames per second on the same setting. So there still are PCs with a RTX 2080 Ti or lower that will be able to run the game, but players will have to compromise between the higher frame rates and lower graphic settings or lower resolutions. One thing's for sure, Crysis Remastered is in a good position to make its way back into every reviewer's list on the benchmarks. Well, they've been using Microsoft Flight Simulator as well. So anyhow, what do you think about this? Are you going to be getting the RTX 3080? Are you waiting for the 3090? Might want to look into that because I kind of heard that it's not going to be worth it and it's not really meant for gamers. But look into that. I am thinking about doing a video about that. Let me know if you're interested. Crysis. I don't know. Have you played it? Have you played the original? Played the remastered version? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. If you like this video, found it entertaining, click that like button and subscribe if you're new here. Ring that notification bell so that way you get notified of future rambling content. And hey, you get to be part of the killer community. We have a killer awesome community here. Hope you'll be a part of that. Links to all my social media are down below. Go check all that out. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Appreciate it, and I will see you on another rambling video real soon. Have a killer awesome day.